Nice to be at your place wherever you may be watching us. Welcome to round one, race 3 of the 2015 New South Wales State Formula Vee Championship from Goulburn's Wakefield Park Raceway. Zach Caven and Lachlan Mansell with you in the commentary box. Michael Kinsella's starting on the front row alongside race 2 winner Ryan Reynolds. And I say Michael Kinsella first, Lachlan Mansell, because the last time out he set the lap record for Formula Vee's at 107.09. Let's see if the pace lifts a little bit in this third race. Set to go. We got the 5-second point. Away we go. Good start. Ryan Reynolds and Michael Kinsella. Reynolds has got the jump up there on the inside into turn 1. He will lead them. The defending champion Dylan Thomas will go into third spot. And looking there on the inside, looks like Horn and Brook have got the jump on the car of Cuts, who of course started the race from 4th spot. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Zach, and keep an eye out on Simon Pace as well, because he came charging up through the field in the earlier race, had to start at the back of the grid, worked his way up into 7th position as we take an on-board look at the start. This is from the viewpoint of Timmy Brook, who started from the outside of the second row of the grid. Third row of the grid, I should say.
Yeah.
And James Horn getting up on his inside as they headed into turn 2.
Cut's got a shocker of a start, as we said, because those two cars were behind him at the start. They leapfrogged him going into the first
That's a cool camera angle.
No, that's a great camera angle. I'm not sure who were on board there. We'll work that out. That looks like Simon Pace in front, so it'll probably be Matty Pearce or someone who started around there. And now there's the view from Dylan Thomas.
So Dylan Thomas, a nice start, comfortably out-muscled the car that was starting on his outside and moves himself up into position 3 as they headed down into turns 1 and 2.
Now I'm just going to retract his statement there. I think we were missing Jason Cuts from the starting grid there, so he didn't make a shocker of a start at all. He actually didn't start. Of course, with Darren Williams meant to be the competitor in that entry for this season, they were having a couple of mechanical issues at the end of the second race, and they thought, well, bugger it, we won't try and rectify them for the third and risk buggering the car up when we've got to be at Sydney Motorsport Park in 3 weeks' time. So no Jason Cuts on the grid there. My apologies for that. We make our way out of the fishhook for the first time. Surprise, surprise, Ryan Reynolds leads the way.
And we saw there a bit further back in the pack Jeff Bennett making up a move down the inside of Aaron Pace as well. Here we go back on board with Dylan Thomas as they exit turn 9. And you can see
Kinsella to the
Kinsella's
inside.
right on the tail, right on the gearbox of Ryan Reynolds' car. Important to get a good exit here at turn 10 for the run onto the main straightaway. Try and get a slipstream if you can from the car in front. And a bit further back in the pack, the 1200cc cars, they had a healthy battle as well in the previous race. Bernie Cannon ended up taking the victory in that one, but he had a very, very good dice, very competitive dice with Stephen Butcher as our race leaders head for the second time through turns 1 and 2.
Now we know Team CXC are a big outlet in this category. Dylan Thomas was telling me earlier today that there's a little bit of a bet going on in the paddock between William Pym and Alan Harrison. Dylan said to William, if you can beat Alan in one of the races, I don't care which one, I'll give you $20. He got the job done in race 2. Let's see if he can repeat the form in race 3. Into the fishhook we go once more. Ryan Reynolds leads the way. It's Kinsella sitting there, second spot from Thomas, Horn and Brook, then Pace, then Pearce.
Look at the cut and thrust of the mid-pack as we have the car locking a break up a bit further back in the pack. A couple of cars, in fact, running wide. One of the CXC cars just running a little bit wide off the racing line there. Here comes, that's the battle of the 1200cc class cars. That was, I think, Cannon getting up on the inside of, might have been Lyle Moyes there, as mid-pack runners make their way back onto the main straightaway.
20 laps this one, Lockie. A long journey around Wakefield Park. 44 kilometres, if you don't mind. Going to be a long test of endurance for these guys. We, of course, had them here for sprint races of 8 and 12 laps in February. Now they're into the longer races of the Cairns State Championship and proving to be just as entertaining as per usual. Kinsella looking to the outside of Reynolds. Here's the move for the lead. No, he's going to have to yield. He won't have the momentum there on the outside to get Reynolds into turn 2. Thomas goes third, then Horn, then Brook, then Pace, then Pearce as they head up the hill once more. And further back in the field, you'll see the likes of Bennett, Fremantle, Pym, Harrison and Bode as well as they make their way up towards the top of the hill and the top of the circuit once more. It's interesting. I was talking to Dylan Thomas off air, and he said this circuit, even though the slipstream does help in Formula V, this circuit isn't great for it. If you can get the slipstream on the straight and get past, excellent, because then you can go and do your own thing at the top of the hill and through the infield because it's such a tight, twisty section. So it'll be interesting to see who uses the slipstream to their advantage and who doesn't in this race this afternoon, and what effect it has on the race. And we might point out that Michael Kinsella set the fastest lap, not quite in the slipstream of Ryan Reynolds in that last race, race 2 here at Wakefield Park. Back to the main straight. It'll be interesting to see. We, of course, know that Daniel Stein and Simon Pace, as we have a look on the inside, Kinsella to the lead. Kinsella to the lead on the inside of Ryan Reynolds, and Dylan Thomas tucking in there as well. So Kinsella takes the lead from Ryan Reynolds. It's the first time that someone other than Reynolds has led so far this weekend. Reynolds has been the dominant force so far in round 1, and he will lead them, well, Kinsella will lead them across the straight for the first time, and Reynolds will try and do the fight back on the inside. But as they get to the top of the hill, you can see that Kinsella's holding on for the moment. Can he drive off into the sunset? We'll wait and see. As I was just about to say, we saw Pace and Stein damage themselves up yesterday. Stein missed these 2 races, 2 and 3 here at Wakefield Park today, as Reynolds now tries his luck on the outside of Kinsella as they go to turn 1. No, Kinsella will hold on. Thomas looking up there on the inside of Reynolds. That won't work for him. And then we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 sitting there as well with Hornbrook, Pace and Pearce. If I can finish the point that I was making though, because there's such a tight turnaround between these 2 events, rounds 1 and 2, there's only 3 weeks. Everyone will be conscious of that and be hoping to keep a clean car here in this 20 lapper. They don't want to go dinging it up when they've only got 3 weeks to turn it around. And then that's why the likes of Daniel Stein aren't on the racetrack at the moment, because he dinged it up yesterday and hasn't been able to repair it in time for today. You don't want to risk damaging it anymore.
So the top 6 cars have all just broken away from the rest of the field. Jeff Bennett a bit further back, along with Craig Spark and Morgan Fremantle, and we also saw having a pretty good battle a bit further down the order, Aaron Pace along with Alan Harrison, Jacob Andrews. Can be a bit hard to differentiate those CXC cars sometimes.
Yeah, exactly right. I think they're working on that for a future round of the championship, how it might be easier to differentiate them in the future. We'll wait and see. They go back down the main straight, that top 7, anyone's game at the moment. Anyone's race for the taking. Get back further in the field there. A few more cars coming through, but everyone's safely through that 10th and final corner and jockeying for position. There's little battle packs forming all over the field, but the top 3 have broken away from the next 4. As they make their way up the hill once more, it looks like Kinsella still leads the way. Thomas and Reynolds there jockeying for 2nd position. And then, of course, Brook, Horn, Pace and Pearce all involved in a battle for the minors, 4, 5, 6 and 7.
And in the mid-pack, it's pretty heated as well. Look at that, 2 CXC cars as we go back on board. I still reckon this is one of the best camera angles because it just shows how much movement there is in the cars. They're very stiffly sprung open wheelers, not a lot of suspension travel, and as a driver you're going to feel every little bump and imperfection in the track surface.
That's exactly right. And there are a couple of bumps around this circuit. I know it depends on who you talk to, what line you take, how many bumps you get per lap, but there are a few bumps here and there on this Wakefield Park circuit. That's the nature of having the circuit, not having been resurfaced in recent memory. But they make their way back down the main straight. Wear and tear is the word I was looking for there, Lachlan, as they make their way down the main straight once more here at Wakefield Park. Sensational to have your company. You're watching round 1, race 3, New South Wales State Formula Vee Championship for CAMS in 2015. Zach Caban and Lachlan Mansell with you in commentary, of course. We'll be bringing you this race in full right the way to the checkered flag. We're not even a quarter of the way through it yet as we make our way across the line once more. There it is, of course, Kinsella, Reynolds and Thomas, 1, 2 and 3. We were mentioning earlier in the day when we brought you race 2 that Dylan Thomas took until round 5 to win a trophy race last year. He'll be hoping that he doesn't have to wait that long in 2015.
So it's 3 by 3 at the moment. You've got the top 3 and then you've got the next group of 3, which includes Tim Brook, James Horn and Simon Pace. In fact, James Horn, if anything's just managed to break away a little bit from from Tim Brook and also Simon Pace there. Pace right on the tail with Horn. Then we go back to Jeff Bennett, who heads down into the fishhook now. Jeff Bennett just ahead of Craig Spark and Morgan Fremantle there. Bruce Perry having a good consistent weekend. He's inside the top 10.
Indeed he is. And then you go back to the Stinger cars and the CXC cars, which, as Lachlan said earlier, are a bit hard to pick up from a distance if you don't know the helmets and the numbers. You would think that we'd spend less time looking at the timing screen than more time looking at the cars, wouldn't you? But that's the job of a commentator. Back to the main straight we go once more. And again, it's still Kinsella leading. Reynolds sitting there in second spot. Thomas is third. You go back to Horn sitting there in fourth from Brook and Simon Pace. They've left Matty Pearce alone. He's gone back. Slipped back completely. Been left to his own, race. And now he'll just be in a battle with himself to try and hold on to seventh at the moment. Poor old Matty Pearce. He won't be battling with anybody at the moment. Kinsella, Reynolds, Thomas over the top of the circuit and into the infield once more. Good battle shaping up here. Who's your money on at this stage? Who do you reckon can get the job done? The young gun Kinsella or the old hand of Reynolds?
You get the feeling that Reynolds is just biding his time because it is such a long race. There's no need to lead every single lap. And I think those two drivers are just working together a bit at the moment and trying to break away from Dylan Thomas, who's just starting to lose touch with them a bit.
And that's the one thing too. If it comes to the last lap, the one category you don't want to lead in at the start of the last lap is Formula V because of that slipstream effect on the main straight. How many times have you and I been in the box here and seen a race won on the last stretch? It is a very common occurrence in Formula V. Ryan Reynolds, of course, smashed them here at the 50th anniversary meeting in the first and second races, won comfortably on both occasions. Now he's in a fight with young Michael Kinsella, who wasn't at that 50th anniversary meeting. And they've broken away successfully from Dylan Thomas into the second corner once more. Thomas is there third. Now he's going to find it hard to hold on to that slipstream because he's lost out completely. Horn has been passed by Brook. Brook up there on the inside. Here it is, on board with him. We take the replay now into the first corner and Brook leads that battle pack for fourth spot.
That was pretty much a textbook move, wasn't it? But again, those three cars of Horn, Brook and Pace all need to try and work together to see if they can make up any room on the top three.
Back into the fishhook once more. Kinsella holding on. Reynolds there second. Thomas is third. Then you go back to Brook, Horn. And then we go back to Simon Pace. Car off at the top of the circuit. Looked like Morgan Fremantle. Oh no, it's actually a Team Stinger car. It looked like Fremantle from a distance, but it's actually a blue Team Stinger car for CXC.
Might have been Matthew Bode.
Might have been, yeah.
Whoa, and Simon.
Oh, no.
Aaron Pace, sorry.
Aaron Pace, yeah. Forced out the dry at the fishhook, and therefore his race is pretty well run. He's now got a long afternoon ahead of him to try and catch up back to that pack.
Just getting forced wide there at the fishhook. I think, if anything, there was a car up the inside and he probably tried to leave them racing room, but once you get out into the marbles and a loose grip, you find yourself firing off the circuit at a rapid rate of knots, as we see a couple of the CXC cars swapping positions a bit further back in the pack. I think that'll be Jacob Andrews and Alan Harrison.
And is it just me, or are the marbles here at Wakefield slipperier than anywhere else in Australia? Yeah, every time you get out there, you're on your own. And more so when you get to the winter months here, when you come back here, when you get to the marbles, you're on your own. And if you hit the grass, well, you're toast. You just slip and slide all through the place because the overnight frost and dew sets in, and then you're a passenger because you're on a wet grass surface instead of the tar. Back up the hill we go. Look at this. Good battle forming here. Back in the pack.
That's Matthew Bode battling with Bruce Perry. That's a great battle. Perry.
Bruce will be happy. He's got himself a plug today and loving racing in Formula V. He mightn't always be a front runner, but he's one of those guys that just gets out there and enjoys it for the fun of racing, you know. And there's too much competition sometimes in motorsport. It's nice to see people out there for the principal matter, and that is to have fun. That was the number one rule I was taught in go-karting. First rule, have fun. Second rule, do your best. you know.
Here we go, our race leaders now starting to negotiate their way past some of the laps cars because this is a longer race.
Yeah.
Laps traffic will become an issue as we see Dylan Thomas there getting up the inside of that laps car a bit further back in the packet. If anything, that's actually worked to Thomas's advantage. He's made up a bit of time on the two race leaders.
That's the one thing that we want to touch on as well. Lap traffic will play a bigger part because with each lap passing you'll get through more of it. But more to the point, as you go through the race and you're watching this battle unfold, you saw race 2 went Ryan Reynolds' way after navigating his way through lap traffic. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in race 3. So Reynolds sitting on the tail of Kinsella at the moment. There's nothing in it between our two race leaders. Kinsella just can't quite break away from Reynolds at the moment. We go on board with Timmy Brook up there on the inside of James Horn. Thank you very much, and into 4th spot.
So they've swapped positions a couple of times, those two cars, because we saw Brook passing Horn earlier as well. Simon Pace gets a great run. There's a lapped car in an awkward position, and that did not help James Horn at all. He had to breathe out of the throttle on the run up to turn 3 and lost momentum, and now loses another spot to Simon Pace.
Indeed he does. So Pace starting to find the pace, but not enough pace to run with the front 3 that are setting the pace at the moment. Can we use that word anymore if we tried? Back out of the fish hook we go once more. Pace has wedged himself in between the two blue cars of Brook and Horn, the two light blue cars. Of course, you got the dark blue cars of Thomas and CXC and Team Stinger. And then you got the light blue of Timmy Brook and James Horn. But at the front, it's all about the purple and silver of Michael Kinsella and the orange, I should say, of Ryan Reynolds. And Dylan Thomas sitting there 3rd. Then you go back to Brook. Then it's Pace. Then it's Horn making up the top 6 at the moment. Matty Pearce has slipped off that battle. He's sitting 7th. And look at this at the top of the hill. There is nothing in it. Lap traffic starting to play its role. Ryan Reynolds slipping up there on the inside of everybody. Lap traffic and Michael Kinsella, and taking Thomas with him. Kinsella back to 3rd. Reynolds now the race leader at Wakefield Park. And again Lachlan Mansell. Lap traffic plays its part. It's to the advantage of the Canberra boy.
And Kinsella went off the road as a result of that. Kinsella's dropped way back.
Yeah.
So he got hung out to dry. He got forced off the road and he spun himself not just outside of the top 3, but outside of the top 5 places. Dear oh dear.
Again, it's all about your skill in navigating lap traffic. And that might be the inexperience of the younger Kinsella to what Ryan Reynolds is capable of. And that is unfortunate for him, but
actually Kinsella I think you'll find is more experienced, but unfortunately
not in terms of navigating lap traffic. He got it wrong on that occasion. He tried to go the outside, should have gone the inside, because lap traffic is supposed to go off the racing line, which going into a corner would be the outside of the circuit. So he got it wrong there. Now Ryan Reynolds has got a clear, comfortable lead and broken the toe, so he might just sail off into the sunset now.
So Kinsella's actually dropped right back into the clutches of Jeff Bennett as we see that this battle is continuing between Alan Harrison and Jacob Andrews. They've been at it all race long, the two CXC Global cars. William Pym just a little bit further back in the pack as we see more moves happening here on the main straight as that's Tim Brook, Simon Pace and James Horn rounding up one of the laps cars.
Now, one thing we didn't mention from yesterday, of course, we forgot to make mention of it in our race 2 coverage because he was starting in the top 4. Dylan Thomas actually started the weekend at the back of the field. After problems in qualifying, he started at the back of the field. So, can he go from the rear to the front over the course of a weekend? Well, he's only got one position to go. That is Ryan Reynolds. I don't know. He might be able to just pull off a miracle here, but at the moment it's Reynolds holding on as we make our way through just past half race distance here at Wakefield Park.
More laps traffic coming into the equation here. We saw that Matthew Bode and Bruce Perry, there they are on screen at the moment, continuing their battle. Perry actually ahead of Bode at this stage of the race, so they've swapped places. Ryan Reynolds with a good margin now. About probably close to a second or just under it over Dylan Thomas. 3-way battle for what is now position 3 between Tim Brook, Simon Pace and James Horn.
Indeed it is, that battle hotting up, there's no doubt about that. As we make our way back down the main straight here at Wakefield Park. Beautiful day in Goulburn. I tell you what, it's unlike Goulburn to produce 2 spectacular days in succession, but we've had beautiful weather right across the course of the weekend. And we've been pretty lucky with most of our season so far here as we watch Simon Pace up on the inside of Tim Brook and to 4th spot now, a race high for Pace.
Good move there, textbook move up the inside.
Right.
Here's a replay of it. He actually had it executed before they got to turn 2.
He certainly did. That helped him to hold on to the inside line and hold the slipstream up the hill. Back in the pack here, Bruce Perry again battling with, it looks like Bode. Now a little bit of a puff of smoke out of one of the CXC cars. That was Dylan Thomas. They now enter the fish hook once more. Pace is there. Brook and of course Horn holding on at the moment.
I didn't want to stay with them. I just wanted to. That's why I was going to wait.
They're just starting to spread out as we get into the closing stages of this race. Not too long to go now. Getting into the final third of the motor race.
You have to follow Michael Kinsella as well. I called that wrong. Pace is up into 3rd spot because Kinsella, as we said earlier, slipped back behind those 3. He lost out completely. And we'll have to follow his progress as he tries to come back through the field. He'll probably latch back onto the back of that pack before too long because he has got more pace than those 3 cars. It'll be interesting to see where he can get back to.
In the 1200cc class, Bernie Cannon, best of those runners at the moment.
Yep.
Just ahead of Lyle Moyes.
And our race leaders are clear and comfortable at the moment. Reynolds from Thomas. There goes Pace. Brook on his tail. Horn sitting there as well. Won't be too far until we'll see Michael Kinsella come into picture because he's sitting there in 6th spot at the moment. Up to the top of the hill once more. Look at this. Reynolds, Thomas. Then you go back to Pace. Sitting there 3rd. So 3 different coloured cars in the top 3. Then the 2 light blue cars, 4 and 5. Although there's more black on Horn's car than there is on Brookie's. So we make our way out of turn number 2. We're following the battle further back in the pack. Now we cut back to our leaders. This is Reynolds. That is Pace. Sorry, that is Thomas, I should say. And of course lap traffic in the middle of them as well. Now Pace, then Brook, then Horn, 3, 4, 5, then Michael Kinsella. And that's coming through there, I think, was
Jeff Bennett.
Jeff Bennett, yeah.
And here's those 2 CXC global cars again of Alan Harrison and Jacob Andrews continuing their dice.
They're having a good little ding-dong, aren't they? Having a great little ding-dong as they make their way down the main straight here at Wakefield Park. We'll watch this battle with interest as they make their way to the first corner. Pace, then Brook, then Horn. Still on the young and old here, still plenty to play out. Not long left, but 2.2 kilometres. Every time you go around, it's a long way around, and so much is capable of happening at Wakefield Park as we've seen before. Oh no, Horn! Horn has spun! Horn has spun at the fish hook! Oh no, Horn has brought himself undone again! Can you believe that? Let's hope everyone misses him. He gets off the circuit and out of harm's way.
But the problem is that he's dropped outside the top 10. He's lost a bucket load of time as a result of that spin at the fish hook. We didn't catch the start of the incident to find out what had actually happened. But, James Horn finds himself facing the wrong way in the slowest corner on the racetrack.
Unbelievable. That's so unfortunate for Horn. He was having a good run. As you say, brought himself unstuck again here at Wakefield Park. So unfortunate, but they make their way back onto the main straight this time. We'll see where he rejoins. He's probably going to rejoin outside the top 10. And had to wait, of course, for a lot of cars to go through and a lot of traffic to go through. Now we make our way back down the main straight. Our race leaders will be here very, very shortly. Ryan Reynolds holding on from Dylan Thomas at the moment. Michael Kinsella back up inside the top 6 now as well. And Simon Pace holding off Timmy Brook at the moment in the battle for 3rd and 4th. There is Kinsella at the top of your shot. in 5th and trying to hunt down those 2 cars that we've got at the near of the shot in Pace and Brook.
Out of turn 2, back up the hill they go. And now that James Horn's out of the equation, it really is a battle, isn't it, between Simon Pace and Tim Brook for what will be the final spot on the podium.
Certainly will be. Plenty still to come here at Wakefield Park. But it's a battle between Dylan Thomas, Simon Pace and Timmy Brook for those minor positions. Thomas has got second covered at the moment. We don't think he can beat Reynolds. Now it'll be interesting to see who out of Pace and Brook can get that last spot. I reckon it might come down to the last lap. Lachlan, I'm not sure what you're thinking on that, but plenty still to come at Wakefield Park in terms of Formula V this year. They're back here June 2021 for round 3 of the championship, and then back here for round 5, August 22-23, which will be good fun as well. 2 winter trips. That's going to really liven things up, isn't it?
So as we get into the closing stages of the weekend, the field just starting to spread out a bit at this stage. There's James Horn. He'll be very disappointed after his performances in the previous 2 races to find himself outside of the top 10. Tim Brook right on the tail of Simon Pace. That's a good battle as well. An absolute cracker of a battle, in fact, for positions 3 and 4 at the moment. Brook right in the slipstream as they head down into turn 2. No overtaking opportunity that time around.
Certainly not. Reynolds leads Thomas there in second spot at the moment. It's a comfortable margin for the Canberra boy. Ahead of the man in charge of CXC and doing such a good job, not only in Formula V, but also you'll see him in production touring, New South Wales production touring throughout the course of the year as well. And then, of course, well, who knows what lies ahead for him in the future. He is a star talent, is Dylan Thomas, the defending champion. Not getting off to the start that he would have wanted. He would have loved to win, but I dare say the poor start in qualifying and the changes that he had to make there between qualifying and the problems there in race 1, I think that has really hampered his weekend as we see Timmy Brook coming up there on the inside of lap traffic and having a look also at Simon Pace, but not close enough just yet. They make our way back into the fishhook once more, not far from the finish of this one.
Both those cars right out on the ripple strip on the outside of turn 2 at the exit as they tried to maximise their run up the hill into turn 3. And if anything, I think Simon Pace just eased out a little margin as a result of them having to negotiate their way through that lap traffic. Gee, this battle between Jacob Andrews and Alan Harrison, those two have not given each other an inch this race.
They certainly have not.
Every time we've cut to a shot of them, it's been those 2 cars nose to tail.
Yep, and that's the way you want it, you know. I mean, we've talked a lot on commentary about team orders in Formula 1 and in other sports and whatnot. There's no team orders here. It's go hell for leather, hell for broke. And look at that up on the inside. Looks like Harrison getting up on the inside of Andrews, only for a switchback to take place there. There's Reynolds coming down on the inside of lap traffic now and in absolute complete control of this race. Thomas there second. Third spot belongs to Simon Pace, then Timmy Brook. We'll wait and see if Michael Kinsella's able to cut back the margin between those 2 and him. Brook up there on the inside. Brook going to third. Can he get the job done at the top of the hill? Let's have a look. No, he can't. Pace will hold on. This is brilliant battle. Brilliant racing, I mean, between this pair. The battle going on for young and old. Look at Timmy Brook on the replay here. Yielding at the top of the hill and holding on to 4th spot at the moment. He's got that comfortable. These 2 will be 3rd and 4th, you'd say, at the end of the race, but we don't know how it's going to play out. But at the moment, it looks like they will be either on the podium or just off it as they make their way into the fishhook once more. It's an almighty ding-dong. Oh, look at Michael Kinsella. He's catching up now. I told you to watch out for him. He's catching up. Brooks got up there on the inside of Simon Pace. Oh, Pace made an error at the fishhook. He slipped. He slided. And now, of course, he's yielded 3rd spot, and Timmy Brooks up there on the inside. How about that?
So just a mistake there, wasn't it? Under pressure from Simon Pace, slipped wide into the marbles that we were talking about before. lost some grip and found himself skating off the racing line, which allowed Tim Brooke to get up the inside.
Brilliant stuff from Timmy Brooke, just waiting for the moment and taking advantage of the small mistake. And as you said, there was a little margin forming there earlier between the two of them. An inch is as good as a mile in Formula V. Timmy Brooks got that inch at the moment. Now, of course, Simon Pace, that'll put him under pressure from Michael Kinsella, I dare say, as well, because Kinsella was on a charge back. So we'll keep an eye on that battle as we make our way into the closing laps here at Wakefield Park.
Last lap board coming out, so onto the final lap for the Formula V's here in Race 3, Round 1 of the Cabs New South Wales Motor Racing Championship. And as we see that Michael Kinsella has managed to get past Simon Pace as well, so Kinsella back up into 4th position, Pace back to 5th.
Right, so Pace went from having a podium position, locked and loaded, now he slipped back into 5th position, I should say, so he slipped 2 spots off the podium. But we have a look at the man that just went through our shot there about 5 seconds ago, Ryan Reynolds. What a performance this has been from him. 2 from 3 at the 50th anniversary meeting here, of course. DNF the one that he didn't finish. DNF the one that he didn't win, I should say. And now, last corner, checkered flag will be in the air and at the ready. And what a performance it has been. 3 from 3 and pole to go with it. A perfect start to the year. Ryan Reynolds takes the checkered flag and the victory. It doesn't get any better than that.
Out of the last corner come all of the rest of the runners in the field. And we'll confirm the results very shortly. There's the checkered flag wave. And Ryan Reynolds, your race winner. Dylan Thomas ahead of Tim Brooke, Michael Kinsella, Simon Pace in 5th position. Then Jeff Bennett, Craig Spark and Morgan Fremantle rounding out the top 8 in the 1600cc class.
We'll have a look at the 1200 results. It was only Bernie Cannon and Lyle Moyers finishing there. That's it for round 1. They're off to Sydney Motorsport Park in 3 weeks' time. We look forward to your company then.